It's Tuesday, February 18th, and this is Now on HNN.
Happy to be home.
A group of American evacuees from Wuhan, China, finished their coronavirus quarantine at a military base in California. This as an Eva Beach couple begins theirs.
Everything that they told us about to watch out for went out the window.
Plus, as the outbreak continues, an inside look at the changing way of life in China's biggest city.
Breaking news, President Trump says he has changed the 14-year prison sentence of former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich.
Crash into the wall, into the air goes Newman.
These stories and an update on that terrifying Daytona 500 crash coming up on This Is Now. Good morning, everyone. We begin with breaking news. We're following this bus. This is a live picture out of California. This bus is going through some farmland. It's important because it's about where this bus is heading from and who's on it. Ashley, fill us in.
Two groups of American evacuees from Wuhan, China, have been released from military bases in California where they had been under quarantine for signs of the coronavirus. Now, Nancy Chen kicks off our team coverage.
Personnel at Marine Corps Air Station Miramar in San Diego waved goodbye to a busload of evacuees Tuesday as the bus left the base. The Americans had been quarantined there since earlier this month after arriving from Wuhan, China, the epicenter of the coronavirus outbreak.
Happy to be home.
It's a bit restless being inside for so long.
Another group of evacuees reunited with loved ones at Sacramento International Airport after finishing up their quarantine at Travis Air Force Base in Northern California. Hundreds of other Americans who were evacuated from the infected Diamond Princess cruise ship in Japan started their quarantine period back in the U.S. Monday. Japanese health officials say there have been more than 500 infections on the ship.
That vessel was really an incubator for infection.
The 14-day quarantine on the ship is about to expire. Passengers who test negative for the virus will be allowed to disembark starting Wednesday. Nancy Chen, CBS News, New York.
Meanwhile, here at home, one person remains in quarantine at Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam. Another 42 are self-monitoring, which means they're voluntarily remaining at home and away from work, public transit, and gathering places. We're told they're in daily communication with the Department of Health. They were identified through screening by federal officials at the Honolulu airport. Meanwhile, a Japanese couple did test positive for coronavirus after leaving Hawaii. They stayed at Maui's Ka'anapali Beach Club from January 28th to February 3rd. They flew on Hawaiian Airlines Flight 265 from Kahului to Honolulu, and the pair reportedly started feeling sick while staying at the Grand Waikiki Inn from February 3rd to the 6th. Now, Delta says they flew from Honolulu to Nagoya, Japan on Flight 611 on February 6th.
All right, we've got even more updates for you now. You know that Eva Beach couple that were on that cruise ship from Japan? They're now one of those who are starting their new quarantine now in California. We spoke to the Pagans yesterday when they arrived in California. Here's what they had to say.
In the first 48 hours, we have to stay indoors. They're asking us do not leave your room, at least for the first 48 hours. After that, you can go out, of course, protected.
You can go out and, you can jog around the premises.
All right, for those passengers who are still on that cruise ship, there's still several dozens of them. They're dealing with a lot of uncertainty now. Now, CNN's Matt Rivers is there. He just filed this report.
Well, more bad news off of this cruise ship docked in the harbor in Yokohama, with the news coming from Japan's Ministry of Health that an additional 88 people have now tested positive for the coronavirus. That brings the total number of cases on board to 544. But this news comes just one day before the process of getting all of these passengers off the ship as the quarantine period is set to end. That's going to begin starting on the 19th. Let's tell you the details of what we know about this process so far. Japan's Ministry of Health says this process will go on the 19th, the 20th, and the 21st, and that's largely based around when people get their test results back. Every single person on board this ship must be tested for the coronavirus. That test must come back negative before Japan will allow them to get off of the ship. But here's the rub. It takes a few days for the results of these tests to come back. And the testing process continues up until the 18th, up until today. And so as a result, if, let's say, you were a person that received a test today, well, it could be the 20th, maybe the 21st before you get your results back. So even if you're negative, you're going to have to remain on the ship beyond this 19th date, which was the date that Japan said the quarantine would end. Functionally, that's just not true anymore because they say people will have to remain on board the ship until their tests come back negative. If they come back positive, of course, they will be taken off the ship right away and put into local hospitals for treatment. We're also learning that other countries are following the lead of the United States in terms of trying to evacuate their citizens. We know that the Canadians, the Australians, and the Italians, among others, will be evacuating their citizens on government planes over the next several days, though the exact timing of that remains unclear. Now, exactly what happens when the passengers get off the ship? Will they just be allowed to walk around here in Japan? Will they be put on buses run by the government? Will they be put up in government hotels or hotels paid for by the government? Those are the kind of details we don't know. But this quarantine process is going to start to end tomorrow here in Japan. It's maybe the beginning of the end of what has just been a very trying ordeal for people on board this ship. Matt Rivers, CNN in Tokyo.
And right now, officials say there are more than 73,000 coronavirus cases and nearly 1,900 deaths, the vast majority of them in China. But is the virus as scary as it seems? This new disease, officially known as COVID-19, first emerged in December in Wuhan, China. It's still relatively new, so there are a lot of unanswered questions. But this week, Chinese health officials released their initial analysis of the outbreak, and they found about 80% of the cases have been mild. This analysis was based on the first 44,000 cases confirmed in China as of February 11th. The virus led to severe symptoms in 14% of the patients and critical illness in 5%. The death rate was about 2%, which is lower than what we saw during the SARS outbreak. The ordinary flu, on the other hand, has a much lower fatality rate, but it kills far more people because it infects millions every year. COVID-19 seems to be more dangerous for adults, especially men with other health problems like heart disease. Children have largely been spared so far. Again, the outbreak is still unfolding as we speak, so it's too early to tell whether the number of new cases is slowing down or if it will spike later on.
Those are really fascinating numbers we keep needing to remind ourselves of there when we cover this story. Now let's talk about something else. Let's talk about China and how they're dealing with it. It's so populous. You got huge cities there that are always just buzzing. So we have a very good insight right now we want to share with you. We're going to take you to Shanghai. The city has been changed completely. There's just so much of the way of life that has just been completely, I wouldn't say destroyed, but disrupted. So let's check in with David Culver now of CNN, who really gives us an inside look at what's going on there.
Inside Beijing's South Railway Station, passengers sporting a range of plastic protective attire. This man dressed in a raincoat, hairnet, and goggles. Another woman donning a plastic veil of sorts, purple latex gloves as she thumbs through her phone, determined to keep from contracting the novel coronavirus. Everyone abiding by the requirement to wear a mask. Security patrols the terminal in hazmat suits as one worker sprays a liquid bleach-like substance around the feet of passengers. This is what train travel has become here in China. Arriving in Shanghai, passengers file through a round of temperature checks. Then, using smartphones, you are required to register your health and travel history. Only then can you enter the city.
Oh, they have English. There we go.
The normally vibrant financial hub, subdued. We stroll down the popular Nanjing Road. Most stores closed. The shops that were open, eager for business. To walk in, you go through what's become a standard temperature reading. Inside, the look on some of the employees' faces suggested they are desperate for a return to normalcy.
We are in the heart of Shanghai's financial district, and just look how slowly things are moving. There's hardly any traffic at what is normally a very busy circle. And as far as the lunchtime rush, well, we've seen maybe a few folks are out and about, but this certainly does not feel like a city coming back to life. Is that unusual?
No. Yana Lei tells us this elevated pedestrian plaza is normally packed, mostly with tourists trying to snap a skyline photo. As someone who works in finance, Yana says this strange silence will come at a cost.
Do you think that's going to have a long impact, though, economically?
I think the overall impact will be from April, May.
Do you feel nervous?
A little, but not too much. I just remind even my family is take care because out of control, out of your own control.
China's State Council had estimated that some 160 million people would be traveling in what was a post-extended Lunar New Year holiday. However, as we made our way here from Beijing to Shanghai, it seems as though those numbers may not come to fruition. At least walking around here, you also get the feel that this city is not yet ready to restart. David Corver, CNN, Shanghai.
All right, we have some breaking news to get to from the world of politics.
President Trump has commuted the 14-year prison sentence of former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich. Blagojevich, a 63-year-old Democrat, is expected to walk out of prison later today. The former governor was convicted of political corruption in 2010, just months after he appeared on Trump's reality TV show Celebrity Apprentice. Trump says he has also pardoned former NYPD Commissioner Bernie Kerik and granted clemency to finance executive Michael Milken.
All right, we had some other news to get to. We've been following this since the beginning, that missing children's case out of Idaho.
That's right. It appears the mother, Laurie Vallow, and her new husband are island hopping in the islands. Lacey Denise has more.
Laurie Vallow Abel, the mother of 2 children missing in Idaho, has now been spotted on the Valley Isle after spending some time on Kauai. She was photographed recently at a rental car facility in Kahului alongside her new husband, Chad Daybell. Idaho police say they are persons of interest in the disappearance of Laurie's 7-year-old son Joshua J.J. Vallow and 17-year-old daughter Tylee Ryan, who haven't been seen since September. Last month, Vallow missed the deadline for her to bring the children to authorities. Police are also investigating the mysterious deaths of the couple's former spouses. The FBI is involved with this investigation.
All right, let's get you a check of stocks today. They are down along most indexes. A lot of people are saying this has to do with the coronavirus outbreak. Once again, we're seeing a slump there on the Dow. Looks like it's down 165 points as we're getting a little flitter there from our satellite feed coming in from the big board. We're going to get you an update on some other things. We're talking about the world of politics here. This new poll number is out. This is from NPR and PBS Marist poll. Who do you support for presidential nominee? And as you can see, Bernie Sanders there taking 31% of this poll, but Bloomberg showing what he has to offer now after he's entered the campaign, throwing some big ad bucks around. He's now polling at 19%. That qualifies him to take part in tomorrow's debate in Las Vegas, Nevada. So we'll see how it all unfolds there. All right. Now let's move on to some other news. Let's get over to weather and check with our own Guy Hoggy for a check of that.
How's it on this Tuesday? I'm Guy Hoggy with your HawaiiNewsNow.com forecast. This morning, Oahu's getting most of the rain, but there's a good chance for overnight and early morning showers across the state for windward areas for the next several days because of these brisk and breezy winds. But because of these winds, they'll be pushing the showers along at a good pace, and that really will limit the rainfall accumulation. We're not expecting a washout anytime soon, just damp from time to time in the overnight and early morning hours for windward areas. And look at those trade winds running quite strong, and they will be strong for the next several days. Today we got breezy trade wind weather across the state. That means high temperatures running into the low 80s, a little cooler, a little cloudier for windward areas. Now, as far as the surf, it's on the way down for most areas except for the east shore. That's picking up because of the wind swell, 5 to 7 feet, but very beat up and choppy. North and west shores will begin picking up tonight through tomorrow with a below advisory level swell, while south shores, well, they might be dealing with box jellyfish for some south shore spots. So we've got breezy trade wind weather for the next several days, especially windy on Wednesday and Thursday. And then by Saturday, the winds start to ease up. Keep it here on Hawaii News Now. We'll have all your severe weather updates.
Thank you, Guy. Hawaii lawmakers are considering a controversial proposal that would change the penalty for possessing small amounts of dangerous drugs like meth, heroin, and cocaine from a felony to a misdemeanor. Now, supporters say many of those battling drug addiction need treatment rather than prison time.
Going to jail generally doesn't end drug problems, they just continue on through prison, and then when they come out, they still have them.
The chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee says Hawaii's drug problem should be treated more as a healthcare issue rather than a law enforcement issue. The proposal being considered would create a new misdemeanor offense for those caught with 2 grams or less of any dangerous drug.
As long as the person doesn't commit other crimes related to it, or to steal or to rob people to support their habit, there's no point in treating it as a felony, because what they really need is drug rehab.
Supporters say at least 5 other states have changed their laws and are reportedly seeing lower prison populations while saving taxpayer money and resources. But opponents of the bill say the public needs to understand how highly addictive and dangerous these substances are. The Attorney General says a small amount of the synthetic opioid, carfentanil, the size of a grain of salt, is known to be lethal. The Maui and Hawaii Island Police Departments say meth and heroin use is often directly responsible for many thefts, robberies, and assaults that happen in their communities. But Kauai's prosecutor says the state needs a new approach.
I fully believe in prosecuting, dangerous drug dealers, folks who are importing the drugs to Hawaii. But for the folks at the bottom of the chain, what we're doing now isn't working, and so it's time to try new things.
Kohler says sending those suffering from drug addiction to prison sets them up for failure when they get out.
Labeling them with a felony conviction can create all kinds of impediments to housing and employment that is basically exactly the opposite of what we want folks to have when they're in that situation.
Now, opponents also say the bill is unnecessary since current law already offers drug offenders various opportunities to avoid prison. The Senate Judiciary Committee passed the proposal, and it now heads to the full Senate for a vote.
All right, some sad news from the world of entertainment.
An Oahu-born actress known for her recurring role in the TV show MASH has died. Kelly Nakahara-Wallet was in 165 episodes, playing Lieutenant Nurse Kelly Yamato. She was also in the 1985 movie Clue and Eddie Murphy's Dr. Dolittle. Nakahara-Wallet graduated from Kalani High School before moving to California for a career in art and acting. She died yesterday in Pasadena after battling breast cancer at the age of 72.
This one sort of hit me. She's not a super well-known actress globally, but I have great memories of watching her comedic style as a kid, watching those MASH reruns with my grandparents when they were babysitting me. She always had a good laugh. And the movie Clue, that is a classic, and she played the chef in that. I love that movie. Love that movie. Let's get over to some more serious entertainment news now. We're talking about the Weinstein case.
Right, a jury has started deliberations in the rape trial of Harvey Weinstein. The jury is weighing the evidence today after emotional testimony from multiple women who accused him of sexual assault. Weinstein is charged with raping a woman in a Manhattan hotel room in 2013 and forcibly performing oral sex on another woman in 2006. Other accusers testified as part of the prosecution's effort to show he used the same tactics to victimize many women over the years. Weinstein maintains any sexual conduct was consensual.
All right, we got to get over to the video everyone is talking about today. One of NASCAR's best-known drivers is hospitalized in serious condition right now in Daytona. That's after the Daytona 500 experienced one of its worst crashes in the race's history. Let's get over to our friend at CBS, Manuel Bojorquez, with the very latest on this story. He's in that video you just have to see.
Ryan Newman off turn 4 for the final time.
Newman was seconds away from the finish line at the Daytona 500 when his Ford Mustang was bumped.
Crash into the wall, into the air goes Newman.
Upside down.
In a shower of sparks on his roof.
His car slammed into the wall, flipping over multiple times, thrown into the air before it landed on its roof in flames.
The AMR safety team is there quickly to attend to Ryan Newman.
Fans saw the crash unfold from the stands.
Imagine having a semi-truck come right in your car window and hit you.
Nicknamed Rocket Man, Newman has 18 Cup wins, including the 2008 Daytona 500. The father of two hoped this would be his second win at the historic track.
When I come to Daytona, it just kind of feels like home.
Newman, who has advocated for more safety features, has survived multiple crashes.
And Newman is in the air and over.
including this one at the 2003 Daytona.
There's crashes all the time.
USA Today sports reporter Michelle R. Martinelli was at the track for the crash. She says the 2001 death of Dale Earnhardt at the Daytona changed the direction of safety in the sport.
The drivers are so protected, from the technology that's in their helmets to a protector that actually safeguards their head and neck for specific instances like this.
There has not been a fatality on the track since Earnhardt. Seconds after the crash, Denny Hamlin won his third Daytona title in a photo finish. He's the first driver since 1995 to win in consecutive years. After the race, he said there was only one thing on his team's mind.
A person's health is bigger than any race or any accomplishment that you can possibly have. So we're praying for Ryan right now, and that's kind of all we're thinking about.
Hamlin said at first he did not realize exactly just how bad that crash was. President Trump, who served as Grand Marshal of the race, tweeted prayers for Newman, calling him, quote, great and brave. Manuel Bojorquez, CBS News, Daytona Beach.
We're wishing him a speedy recovery as well. That video is just absolutely insane, and it instantly brings back those memories of Earnhardt's crash back in the early 2000s.
They're so hard to watch when they happen.
I know. All right, we got to move on to some more news. This from here at home.
Sightseers will soon have an opportunity to experience history while viewing Hawaii from the sky when a vintage World War II fighter plane begins passenger flights. The Honolulu Star Advertiser reported a private company has modified a P-51D Mustang to allow space for the pilot and a backseat passenger beginning in March. Wings Over Pearl will take passengers up in a 1944 Mustang owned by the Erickson Aircraft Collection, a 15-minute tour of Pearl Harbor, Wheeler Army Airfield, and the Haleiwa Fighter Strip is expected to cost around $2,900, and a 30-minute ride that includes other military sites is set to cost $3,400.
Okay, the price is up there, but it's a very unique experience. I really like the name too, Wings Over Pearl. Very cool idea. I mean, I would be interested for sure, but maybe a little bit more interested in this next story's way of getting into the air.
That's right. If planes aren't your style, how about a jet-powered wingsuit? A company called Jetman Dubai actually built one, and they had a big day last week when the pilot took off from the ground and got up nearly 6,000 feet, going about 150 miles per hour. The pilot has flown before, but had actually never taken off from the ground. They're now trying to work on a very important part, landing back on the ground without a parachute.
And for our podcast listeners, I know you can't see this, but it's a quick Google search away if you want to check it out. And you can always see it here on our Facebook feed, but it's very Iron Man-like, except for like stealth wings behind him. It has more of a winged appearance than your traditional jetpack you might see doing like ocean adventures or things like that. But very cool and very impressive stats there as well. All right, speaking of impressive, yesterday, OMG, I'm still having heart palpitations. We're talking about the Walinda Walk in Waikiki.
That's right. So the 31-year-old daredevil Blake Walinda completed a heart-stopping high-wire skywalk between two Ala Moana towers. He is a member of the famous carnival family, the Flying Walindas. Let's take a look. The winds were whipping on the roof of the hotel's Kona Tower. The steel cable, the width of a nickel, was secured to concrete at several points around the property. Down below on the third-floor parking lot at the Ala Moana Shopping Center, spectators gathered hours early to see the man from the famous circus family.
I remember seeing the Walinda, the Flying Walindas on television and as a child, and then this is historical because it's first time in Hawaii.
After a traditional Hawaiian blessing, the stuntman made his way to the starting point on one of the 14th floor balconies. Holding a balance pole which weighs about 50 pounds, each step was careful and calculated. The Florida native completed the skywalk in just over 3 minutes. He says he hoped to do more tricks, but the wind wasn't cooperating.
Originally, I intended on doing a headstand when I got across, and right when I was about to go down to do it, I got a really big gust, and I just figured that was fate, just saying no, not yet, save it till next time.
With his most daring act to date a huge success, Walinda is already thinking about his next big stunt.
I hope we can do more walks in the islands while we're here. Only can go up from here.
All right, if you want to see him yourself, you didn't get out there yesterday. There's a circus coming up, right?
That's right. So this stunt was all part of the opening of the Super American Circus that's taking place here in Hawaii. They kick off on Maui on the 21st, and they have stops here on Oahu, the Big Island, and Kauai.
You were anchoring that whole time. How did you do that?
I don't know.
I love your reactions during the live commentary, by the way. That was
My
funny.
stomach was in knots. You were on the 14th floor actually watching him from level.
We were making eye contact. He was like, because he had told me before, because when he got to the end, he had to drop that pole, and he's like, Jonathan, just make sure you're out of the way of the pole. So he was actually like making eye contact with me. I think he was sort of telling me visually, like, move out of my way, I'm coming through faster. Because he actually ended a little quicker than we thought he was going to.
Yes, much quicker.
Yeah, he said he felt a gust of wind, and then he ran for that end shot right
Well, you could see the point where the wind, he wasn't protected by the towers anymore, and the wind was like flapping his shirt.
So, one more time, we just gotta watch it one more time. I know, and then, that shirt choice he chose made it more dramatic, because you really do see that silky material just flying in the air there.
Yes. So he said he wants to do more of these walks while he's here in Hawaii, and he is asking people on Instagram to send him messages about ideas or advice where he should do them on the different islands. So
I don't know if my heart can take another one, honestly. All right, let's get some other news. Let's have some fun. We're talking the Disney princesses are up to some fashion
That's
trends.
right. For our brides out there, if you're looking for an actual fairy tale wedding, well, it may be possible after all, because Disney is launching a new line of Disney princess-inspired wedding gowns. 16 dresses reflecting the personality and tastes of characters like Ariel, Jasmine, Cinderella, Pocahontas, and Tiana will be unveiled this April during New York Bridal Fashion Week and will go on sale at Kleinfeld bridal stores shortly after. No word on whether they will make tuxedos for, those real-life Prince Charmings.
I'm just going to say it. They don't look that different than normal wedding dresses.
Because they're white.
Like, surprise, the mermaid one is Ariel. Like, the bell, I guess I see the shape.
Sleeves, yeah.
I can see it, but I don't know, it's not yellow.
Mm-hmm.
The Cinderella one's not blue.
Right.
There's no fish scales on the mermaid.
That's a mermaid cut,
technically. I get it. But it might be a little bit of a stretch for me. But more exciting Disney news. I'm way more into this story than the other.
Yeah, speaking of Cinderella, her castle is about to get a major makeover. The castle is the iconic centerpiece of Disney's Magic Kingdom Park in Orlando, Florida. And this is what it will look like when it's finished. Construction will begin in the coming weeks and continue through summer. The timing is perfect since the classic movie Cinderella just marked its 70th anniversary of its box office debut over the weekend.
I've started to watch the Imagineers documentary on Netflix. It's fascinating to see how they all came to build all this stuff. It was really Walt's just vision. So many people told him no, and he's like, I'm doing this. He found the investors, and he got it going. And this was always the centerpiece of the whole thing, was the castle. I mean, I have those memories going there as a kid, and I'm sure everyone who's been there has to get their picture. It's the new selfie spot at Disney, for sure. All right, let's get over to even more entertainment news. I love this. Adele.
I know. Get excited, Adele fans. The singer-songwriter has announced she plans to release a new album in September after taking a 5-year hiatus. Now, the British powerhouse shared the big news while celebrating a friend's wedding this weekend. And apparently she sang at the wedding, and she was the person who married them.
Could you imagine?
What's that name called?
Oh, officiant.
Officiant. She officiated that wedding as well.
Yeah, very cool. Adele, you can come party with us here at This Is Now, too, please. You're more than welcome. Looking great. I know she's getting been a hot topic several days in a row. Weight loss. It's been all over TMZ and Wendy Williams and other shows like that. But it's cool to see some good news and see that album coming out. I am an Adele fan, I will have to say. All right, this next celebrity news, it is all over my feed. It popped up several times. I don't know if you've heard about this, but I'm a big thrifty shopper. I love vintage shopping and all that. I can't even imagine if I found this next thing. So one woman found a photo album filled with this. And for our podcast listeners, I'm going to do my best to describe it to you. A photo album filled with vintage celebrity photos, all with this mysterious woman next to the celebrity. Right now we're looking at her, this woman probably in her 60s, next to a young Will Smith in the 90s, a young Patrick Stewart. Oh wait, there's more. And then there's one of her with young Harrison Ford. Look at that young Drew Barrymore
wow.
there. And then even more vintage photos. The whole cast of Ellen. There was an Ellen show before the talk show.
Look at Bruce.
Bruce Willis, Die Hard style with the tank top. He's looking really bad there. And then even more, this lady got her autograph book signed a lot.
Wow.
Johnny Depp with those cheekbones there, very young, and a super young Tom Hanks. All right.
Kevin Bacon.
That's Kevin Bacon. Oh, I did not even recognize who that was. I thought that was like her son or something. All right. So they had to do the person who found this album, like, who is this woman who met all these famous people? Turns out she was with the Hollywood Foreign Press Association.
Okay.
No clue how the album got to the thrift store. Probably just got dumped there by mistake when they were cleaning out or whatever. But there is some 90 members of this guild or group. They put on the Golden Globes every year. This woman was a part of that group back in the 90s and met all these cool famous folks. I just couldn't even imagine if I stumbled across that. It almost seems like its own like museum contemporary art display or something that people could come and look at.
Wow. Do we know if she's still alive?
I think she did pass away.
Oh.
I do believe that was the case. Don't quote me on that, but when I glanced at the article on my feed, I do believe that.
What a collection.
But what a life, too.
Yeah.
Very, very cool story. I loved it. Hey, guys, that's going to do it for This Is Now Tuesday edition. So we'll be back here tomorrow to bring you more news. Until then, I'm going to try to take you outside. Oops, that's Washington. And I believe this is our beautiful
there
outside.
It is.
Beautiful day out there. You guys, we'll be back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.